There are a lot of common life advice expressions out there. You know, don't cry over spilt milk, or no pain, no gain, or be careful what you wish for. That last one is particularly old. It first appeared in Aesop's Fables more than 2,000 years ago. And it's the moral to a story about an old man who's so exhausted doing his work, he wishes for death to just come and take him. Of course, he's then not so excited when a big, tall, grim Reaper dude with a cape and a giant sickle actually shows up, which is basically the position the Clippers find themselves in now. Remember the shenanigans that LA pulled in the end of the regular season? How in a truly spectacular display of tanking, the Clippers rested half their roster and possibly several ball boys so they could maneuver to the number 4 spot in the standings. While the Clippers never publicly acknowledged why they did it, sure seemed like they were trying to avoid the possibility of a first-round matchup with the Lakers. And hey, you can at least see what their logic might have been. The Clips' journey last season from title favorite to bubble flameout created enormous pressure to go deep into the postseason this year. So if they instead lost in the first round to, of all teams, the franchise down the hall, it would have been an absolute disaster. So instead, they tanked and positioned themselves to play Dallas, which seemed a bit odd considering the Mavericks not only have Luka Doncic, but also that Dallas beat the Clippers by 51 points earlier this season. But anyway, that's what they did, and it has turned into, an absolute disaster, as last night the Clippers walked off their own home court down 2-0. Watch Doncic in the first quarter here, treating the LA double team just like a bunch of very tall group of traffic cones as he weaves his way there toward the hoop. Still, the Clippers showed plenty of fight at the start, too. Kawhi Leonard dropped 30 in the first half alone, the most productive half of postseason basketball he has ever played, which is something, right, for a 2-time Finals MVP and a 2-time champ. Paul George opened the game by nailing his first 3 shots. He also put Kristaps Porzingis on roller skates here. I mean, that's just mean. He'd finished with 17 first-half points, which is all well and good, except basketball games have 2 halves. And it was the Mavericks who ratcheted up their intensity as the night wore on. Doncic had little trouble hunting for matchups. Poor Ivica Zubac. I mean, But he also had no trouble going right at the Clippers' best defenders. Watch him go against Kawhi here. Patrick Mahomes, who was courtside and knows a thing or two about throwing bombs, he approves. Then just a couple minutes later, Luka again, the little tribute to Dirk Nowitzki, who was also in the crowd last night. Yeah, that's just disrespectful. Dallas would jump out to a 14-point lead, and while the Clippers were able to tighten that again in the game's final minutes, they never actually threatened to win. Tim Hardaway Jr. put the final nail in LA's coffin with this beauty. And Dallas, who has been absolutely shooting the lights out in this series, is now heading home in firm command of this matchup. In the history of the NBA, teams who win the first 2 of a 7-game series advance to the next round 93% of the time. A fact the Clippers seem to be weirdly blasé about after the game.
I'm not concerned. Like I said, they got to win 4 games, and you come in on a opposing team's floor and you play. There's no pressure on you to make shots because you're supposed to, you just try to come in and steal a game or steal 2 games. But now they got to go home and try to keep up the same shooting. So it's easy to come on the road and do that when there's no pressure on you. So we'll see in Game 3.
We got to rise to the occasion. Fact of the matter is, if we don't, we're done for. But there's no level of concern. I mean, we just got to play our game. We got to play through this. We got to incorporate our defense. Luka's gonna get his touches. We just got to do a better job defensively of just quieting everyone else.
No level of concern. Look, it's certainly possible for the Clippers to still pull this series out. We've seen teams do it before. But boy, are they off to a rough start here, and it's hard not to feel like it's their own fault. They asked for the guy with the giant sickle. I mean, jumper. And they sure got him. Be careful what you wish for. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.